benefit of those who want an awareness of it, but who have never and will never experience it for themselves. There is something good in that. I can sense it. There is something good in exposing prostitution for what it really is. It is the illumination that comes from shining a light in dark places. It is the essential honesty in showing the outlines as they truly are. Men who use prostitutes superimpose upon prostitution an image of it which to them is satisfactory, agreeable, and pleasing. This image will vary from man to man. The only things which remain consistent are the fantasy element involved, and the reality that shifting male perceptions do nothing to alter the experience of prostitution for the women involved. Their realities remain concrete and immovable. It is my intention with this book to lay those realities before the reader. I do not expect any of this to be easy, because there is another reason why the answering of the first question is particularly difficult. It is because it involves an unavoidable reaching into the self, a painful emotional excavation. The honest answering requires a feat of penetrative inward searching in areas you don't want to dig, precisely because you know what you will find. But as the most precious artifacts are those which must be hollowed from the ground, the most valuable words are often those which must be laboriously quarried from the self. So I am going to have to be very thorough. I am going to have to dig. To go back to the start, to begin to answer that first question, my home life as a child was textbook dysfunctional. My parents were both patients of the local psychiatric hospital, St. Brendan's. It is situated within walking distance of where we lived, in a council housing estate on the north side of Dublin City. HSE records show that my mother was thought to be schizophrenic, and that she was an outpatient of the hospital. My father was sometimes an outpatient, sometimes an inpatient, depending on how his manic depression was affecting him at any given time. They were also both in the grip of active addiction, my mother to prescription drugs, my father to the lure of compulsive gambling. I don't blame my parents, and I know they weren't bad people. They were sick people. These facts are simply facts, and I harbour no desire to play them for tears. I record them here only because they are central to an understanding of how I became involved in a harmful, depressing, destructive lifestyle that would have been scarcely imaginable to me the day before I first embarked upon it. I am writing this work as a person who is still in the state of transition, working towards being secure with my place in society. It is a difficult journey because it is not as if I am going back anywhere. I am journeying towards somewhere I never was to begin with. Our lives as children set us utterly apart from mainstream society, and we were raised both painfully aware of it and numbly accepting of it. We understood it. It was our position in the world. My life as a child primed me for prostitution in that it primed me to continue to live outside the sphere of what was normal. It also primed me for any other socially unacceptable or unusual pastime or pursuit. It just happened that several factors of timing and circumstance fell perfectly in place so that prostitution presented itself both as a solitary option and a viable one. I grew up feeling as though I was separated from the world and all its inhabitants, as if by something absolutely solid, but which I could not see, smell, or touch. By the time I was a young teenager in prostitution, this sense of disconnectedness from the world operated so strongly that I could go into a hairdresser to have my hair cut, but I couldn't possibly imagine being the woman holding the scissors. I could go into a bar and order a drink, but I could never imagine standing behind the bar serving it. There was a sense of adequacy, of normalcy, of decency inherent to those socially acceptable positions. And I suppose the sad thing is that, deep down, I felt I had no adequacy. I had no normalcy, and I was not decent. There was a strangely familiar rhythm, in one particular way, in working as a prostitute. I was not reaching outside of my own belief system. I was not challenging the negative self-image I had been raised with and had carried with me all my life. Of course, it caused me much suffering in the longer term, but at that time, in a sense, it was easier to accept that it would